Hey, welcome to the Next Issue podcast. How you doing, Clay?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Where'd you find that, or did you put that together?
Oh, it's on YouTube. I don't have the talent to do that, Clay. Uh, no, I just
Yeah,
got it
you
off of
do. Yeah,
YouTube.
you do.
Let me. Well, maybe I don't have the patience for it. That's probably more accurate. But no, I found that on YouTube. I'll put the link to the original video in the description of after the show. Um, so as you could probably tell, based on our location, we are streaming from nowhere today. Um, we're going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We will be talking full spoilers from the top of the show. So if you haven't seen the film, leave a like, leave a comment, come back, watch the show. I mean, how can you not have seen this movie yet?
I've seen two movies in the theater, Quantumania and this.
Boy, talk about maybe not exactly opposite sides of the coin, but very different experiences for sure, huh?
Well, I feel like the Quantum Realm needed to be seen in a theater,
Yeah.
and I love Guardians, so I'm gonna see it in the theater.
Oh, I get that. I am. I mean, I've seen this movie twice in the theater. I can't remember the last time I went to watch the movie. So I went. I went on opening night on Thursday. I just went to a regular theater because that's usually the most convenient for me.
Yeah,
Um, and then I went back that same weekend. I believe after we didn't stream last week. I don't think
we didn't, but
so.
yeah, I did see you went and saw it twice.
So I took the time. I found the Adobe screen.
We saw it on
I
a
found
Dolby
so
screen.
North Park does these like really early screenings. Like I think it was like at 9:30 in the morning, and I
Oh
was like,
yeah, we go
yeah,
to AMC, and I think we've seen them
yeah,
like at 10:30 and 11.
yeah. Being I will say this little aside, being at the mall before everything opens up, it's pretty funny. But it is
Seems like
the
being
mall.
at the mall when everything's open would be
Yeah, but
just as clear.
the mall's open because of the theater, and then like there's a lot of people walking at the mall, which makes sense. I mean, if you know Texas weather, you know that we're already getting kind of hot and muggy. I don't think it's the temperature as much; it's just a lot of humidity because we've had a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
rain.
yeah.
So it's definitely, people want to be healthier, so I get that. So they go walk around in the mall, which is really funny. Like you just see, like there's groups of people walking around. Uh,
Visiting the Gadzooks and the Chess Kings.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. So, but we're not here to talk about mall habits in America,
Yes,
although we should. That would be a fun show, I think.
that will be next week.
Okay, sure, whatever. I'll need to do some research. But all right, Clay,
Let's get into
let's get
Guardians
into it.
3 spoiler free first,
Uh,
or full
I
spoilers.
would say full spoilers from the get go because there's so many. I mean, we have a list of things we want to talk about, and we can talk about some other things. I'm sure we'll have some tangents. I do want to ask. I think this is a good opening question. Where, because I came up with it. Where where does this film rank to you in the Guardians lot? Just the Guardians lot.
I can't rank them. I love them all
Interesting.
for different things.
Okay.
Um, I could say though for certain the only thing that kind of missed with me on this one was the music because I didn't know all of the music that was used
Oh, interesting.
as deeply as I knew the first two.
Because I mean, we are moving through the decades, right? I think
Yes.
the Zune got some updated music at the end of the last film. Oh, that's interesting. See, where
Yeah.
I think volume one and two, I was not familiar with as much of the music. Like, I enjoyed it once I
Yeah.
heard it because it's good music. So I guess yeah, well, let's talk about the music then. We can start there because we know that James Gunn puts like a playlist together to tell his story, right? That's
Right.
what an interesting way to create film, I think.
Yeah.
Too.
And I've even heard him talk about like the movie's beats also match
Oh yeah.
a
Oh yeah.
Nirvana song. I can't remember which one it is though,
Yeah.
but the different beats of the
I
story.
mean, this film opens with an acoustic version of "Creep,"
with Rocket singing it, and I love that.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I
You can't outdo the second one. Like
right.
think about it. You open up the second movie with my second favorite comic book opening to a movie, and it's
Okay.
rock or just the Guardians battling, but we don't watch it. We watch Groot dance.
Is your first that Nightcrawler scene in X-Men 2?
Yes,
Yeah, that's okay.
X2. By far, the best use of Nightcrawler is in that opening scene to show that he can be a badass, and
Yeah.
then they just wasted his character for decades.
Okay. Yeah. No, you know what? I completely agree. I guess it also depends what type of. It also sets the tone of the film, the opening
Right.
song, right? I think this one was a lot more somber than, and a lot more serious. Although it still had a lot of funny beats, but
Well,
yeah,
pick up where two leaves off. We watch Rocket crying as they're saluting Yondu, and all the Ravagers show up to give him a Ravager burial. And him and Yondu having that exchange of "You're me, boy," like just how much he's an asshole, especially in the second movie.
yeah,
Um, and I get it. I totally understand Rocket. Rocket is like my favorite character, and I connect with the most in the film just because of his backstory. And so when it opens up with him, and I think that's him accepting who he is, like that his life has kind of made him into this person,
hmm
and that's how we start the film. And then by the time we see his arc and get to the end, he's the leader, and instead of just putting on tunes, he's talking about tunes with everyone. What's your favorite? Like, I love that. Like, he kind of evolves just the music into full-blown discussions for the team.
yeah, for sure. I think, I mean, if one thing is clear after this movie is that Rocket is Gunn's favorite character.
Yes.
I mean that I think that was already pretty clear, but there's still he did a lot of work with Gamora. Not Gamora, sorry, Nebula as well.
Nebula. Yeah,
Um,
Nebula's character, I mean, talk about like from comic to film,
yeah,
bigger and better. Story arc was great. I love her. I love seeing like her and Rocket in Infinity War and Endgame also like helps lock their story together. I know there's
yeah,
some things that Gunn wasn't happy with how they used the Guardians in it, but I feel like
yeah. You could tell. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
Nebula
saw
evolved a lot.
for sure. I saw. I watched New Rockstar did a breakdown where they kind of talked a little bit about those things where, like, some of the dialogue are almost not just like calling out like the things that they when Peter was telling summarizing for Ura the whole story of her and Gamora and all that. Um, the parts that were left out were the parts that James Gunn didn't fully like direct. Right, there was some stuff with that happened in Endgame and Infinity War,
Yeah.
and even Love and Thunder a little bit, where like those characters were not they were not being direct. They were not part of Gunn's probably original story.
Right.
Some of those things that happened. Um, do you
But I
have a
still feel that it like you see Nebula turn in those films. So she
yeah
goes
yeah
so you see her arc, and I feel like that added to her character a lot. We see Rocket console Nebula, like the enemy who has just gone through this and now has come back to Earth. Just them having a moment with no dialogue is
yeah
great.
yeah? I think when they come back to from Endgame, when they come back in Endgame to back to Earth and they finally reconnect. Um,
And Rocket being captain when him and Thor and Groot go out to space, like he could tell Thor is really hurting,
mhm.
and he jumps up and he says, "Time to be the captain." Like he knows that to lead, you have to have like your team at 100%, and if there's something you can do to uplift them, that's what a captain does.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite song from this film? Since we're talking about the music before we get fully into the story.
It's tough because I really like Rocket singing "Creep," but I loved "Dog Days Are Gone" at the end.
Yeah.
for a couple of reasons. Actually, there's a video that you can find on Twitter of the lead singer being filmed in the theater, just crying as her song is playing at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
end. Yeah, I love that. I love seeing that.
I saw on TikTok the Florence and the Machine TikTok, like she was just really happy. She was thanking the people that went to watch the movie for. I
So
mean,
that's
things,
cool.
it's the kind of like with the what's the song from Stranger Things? The running up the hill, or
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think it's
Like
just called Running Up the Hill.
running up the hill, but I'm trying to think of her name.
Yeah, like that song became very popular immediately when it
Kate
happened, right?
Bush.
And yeah, Kate Bush in the show, because of the same thing. I will say I thought it was really funny, the song, that the music that's playing in the house of the Bat family, that brings them in when they're in Counter Earth.
Yeah.
It's a real song. It's called Koinu Carnival. Koinu Carnival. And it's like this weird electronic type of genre music. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how James Gunn found it, but it's like a real song that they were listening to. But it's really funny because it's funny how it fits the kind of idea of being from an Earth that's not quite the same as our Earth, right?
Right.
Um, one of the themes that is explored a little bit in this film is the art and how it placed in society, and how that was something that the High Evolutionary kind of valued from his visit to our world, in the Marvel universe, and the fact that these creatures that he evolved could sort of replicate, some kind of form of art.
The
um
weird part, though, is if you think about it, the High Evolutionary comes to Earth, and what does he replicate? The worst thing in the world, the suburbs. Just a bunch of copycat houses and
yeah,
neighborhoods. It just seems kind of weird that that's what he
well,
appreciated and they
i
built.
think I think his idea of perfection was flawed, just the way that the idea of the suburb being the ultimate goal for an American family was kind of flawed as well.
Unless it's commentary on the way that the first animals were kept in cages and they just evolved to suburban homes, because they were all like side by side. You could look, they do the overhead shot of all four animals, they're kind of together. And maybe
Yeah, yeah,
suburbia
yeah.
is that prison in his mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. I think his whole plan, I think it's flawed from the beginning, but I think that's the point. I like that the High Evolutionary is a villain without a redemption arc
Oh
here.
yeah, he's just mean. Like he's just evil. Like when I mean, this is just this is the moment I think most people talk about from the film when Rocket, he's after he's taken all the gadgets that he's kind of put on himself, and he builds a card to open up the cages, and then everyone is killed, and
Yeah.
he just sobs and sobs, and then the High Evolutionary gets in his face and cries, and he goes, "You win the crying contest," like just an asshole. Like I'm just gonna rub your face in it,
Hmm.
piece of shit. You know, like God. I mean, I almost like would like him to be the big bad going on. Because he's just evil.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There is nothing good about that character. I mean, which a lot of it goes to the performance of oh, I forget his name. Uh, uh Chiwudi Iwuji, from Peacemaker. We saw him there too. Which interesting that he plays not a similar character, but kind of the same thematic idea, like this, but backwards, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. He was like the leader. He was the insect.
That,
Well, the insect that inhabited him.
yeah, that
Uh,
broke out from the hive and the big plan.
yeah, and tried to, I guess, make something of that world.
Yeah,
And so he had to be a little odd, but in this one, he just kind of goes from, I guess you feel like scientist to evil scientist to
mhm,
just madman.
yeah. So I want to address real quick. Leonard came in the chat. Counter Earth is so simple yet such a good name. Yep. And Counter Earth was created by Roy Thomas and Gil Kane in Marvel Premiere #1, which is also the debut of the High Evolutionary.
Yeah,
Um,
which is weird because Rocket and all his crew are from Half World, and that was where I thought that they were listed in the first movie. When you see Rocket's,
yeah, they definitely change. Well, they I guess they James Gunn kind of grabbed some of concepts because that Counter Earth is not even really the same as it is in the comics. Like Counter Earth in the comics is literally an Earth that's on the same axis as, like, it spins around the sun on the same axis as Earth. It's just on the opposite side of the sun, so we can't never see it.
oh, okay,
Right?
yeah,
So that's Counter Earth. Um,
yeah. See, Half World's different. It's way weird
Half worlds are
because
different. Yeah.
and if you ever go to read that, because that's where Lila and Teefs show up, but not
Oh,
as the characters you see in the film. And so you open it up, and they're like hanging out, swimming, having fun. Like it's a lot. It's a much
it's
brighter,
almost like a
colorful world,
preserve, like an animal preserve type of world, right?
right? But then the uh, the bunnies in that are the police, and they have like almost like military type
Hmm.
stuff on,
That
and
doesn't surprise me.
yeah, and then they also have these clowns in this world that are enemies. It's just it's so weird, and I kind of was like, would James Gunn go full clown in this? But I think what he did was just make it darker, and it works.
Yeah. Was that also were those the Animen
Oh,
that are mentioned, or is that, are they from Half World?
I think,
This is where we need Kyle.
yeah, I don't think I think they're in an Avengers book,
Okay,
the Animen.
because the Animen are mentioned, and then also we learned that what do they call the Sovereign were created
Yeah,
by him as well. Another comment from Leonard Kim. He thinks of, yeah, I think the High Evolution, he thinks of himself as a god more than Thanos. I don't even think Thanos considered himself a god. He was more of a force to bring balance. I think that was his whole mission.
yeah. Even when Loki says you'll never be a god, like he
Yeah,
thinks that too, but I don't think Thanos thinks that. I
yeah, I
don't
don't
think he
think Thanos
cares.
thinks that. So, um, I wanna, I'll save my favorite song probably for when we get to the action, because it's the one from that. It's No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a great one.
from that scene. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Um, I Overall, I think the arc, like if you just take these three Guardians of the Galaxy movies and you kind of follow their characters through it, and I can see how it would be kind of annoying if you have a trilogy plan, but then they have to kill off one of your characters in between some of this, because that was probably the biggest change,
I
right?
had read that James Gunn wanted to kill off Gamora in the second film.
Oh, interesting.
I had read that, and that Kevin said no, that they were going to use her in Infinity
No, we're
War.
gonna kill her over here. Sorry.
But again, I just read that, so it could just be a
Yeah.
rumor. Who
But,
knows?
yeah, I think, like I said, I think Rocket obviously has the best arc in the trilogy.
Right? I mean, it's him evolving from being a criminal in the first scene with
Mhm.
Groot to being a parent,
Mhm.
to being a captain and just being a better friend. Like he
Yeah,
he finally has these people who are his friends, and even though he calls and he refers to it in Endgame, he wants to get all his friends back. The girl with the antenna is what he calls Mantis. So
yeah, yeah,
there's still that little bit of him that just isn't accepting of everyone. And I think it's easy to see that the first time you have friends and they're all murdered, it's you worry about
Oof.
life after that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, why would you want to build those connections again, right? If you know
Just
it could just
how
end.
how bad did he hurt after that
Oh
he
yeah,
disfigured the High
yeah.
Evolutionary, and when they pulled the face off,
Oh,
oh, that shit was unreal.
which a lot of it goes to the multiple voice actors. I think for Rocket, like
Yeah,
it was so well done. Like the young Rocket, and then growing up to Bradley Cooper's voice of Rocket. Uh, man, they there should be some kind of award
well,
for
there are three voices on that. I
yeah,
think there's a young Rocket and
the
it's a
really
kid's
young one.
voice, and
Yeah,
then Sean Gunn, from what I read,
I think
did
it's Flashback Rocket
yeah, and then Bradley
and then
Cooper.
Bradley Cooper's current. And then of course Sean Gunn doing all the motion capture for Rocket too. Like
Love
there
it.
should be some award for bringing a character like that to life. That does the that's done by multiple people.
Well, I mean, we had this issue with Lord of the Rings. I mean, Gollum was a character that everyone
Yeah,
was in awe of, and the acting especially. I mean,
but
Andy Serkis added so much to that.
but Gollum was done by Circus, right? Like the voice and the motion capture.
Yeah, it was everything.
Where this is a collaborative effort, so I feel like yeah, every scene Rocket was in, whether it was a flashback to when he was young, um, or the current stuff, or even yeah, just everything really hit really hard.
Yeah, did you see all of the personal touches from Gunn, like during the credits, like during the beginning of Guardians 1 into now? His parents appear in the second Guardians. They're at the Dairy Queen taking pictures of the big ego thing that's
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
out.
yeah. I saw the picture.
Yeah,
They show that in the end credit. Oh no, yeah, while the credits are rolling.
yeah, because his dad passed away. It passed
Yeah,
away while he was making Peacemaker.
I saw the he dedicated, well, not just to him, but his dad was one of the people he dedicated this film to.
Yeah,
Um,
and the teeth that they used for Rocket is actually a scan of his dog, Von Spears, who passed away during the Guardians filming as well.
oh,
Yeah, so he was able to like use his teeth. They like did a scan of his jaw
yeah,
so that they could use it to make him talk.
yeah. I think.
And of course, his wife is in there as well as one of
Oh,
the people
sure is.
who's running the board on the, what do you want to call it? Flesh
Oh, I don't
base.
even want to. Yeah, I don't have words to describe that whole operation. Um, I did
Except
think it's
Nathan
really
Fillion it makes it great because he kind of brings it all.
yeah. Who do you think's idea was that? Let's shoot my wife in the leg.
I don't know. That is a weird thing.
That's so funny. I mean, Jennifer Holland, like from you've seen her in Peacemaker and other stuff, but as soon as I mean, there's so many cameos. We can definitely get into the cameos later too. There's so many good ones, but
I
that was
mean,
really funny.
Rooker. I didn't expect to see him show up as and hear his voice, but when it happens, it's really magical.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
like it
and
doesn't feel.
I will say that's a magical moment. And the second most magical moment for me was when the audience evolves and understands Groot at the end.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that was I imagine kids who hear that are probably just losing their minds because that's got to be just the coolest experience.
that's right. So going forward, we can all understand Vin Diesel. He's gonna have to say actual lines.
Yes,
Uh,
Groot will start living his life a quarter mile at a time.
And one of the cool things is that Vin Diesel, like throughout all these premieres, has like he wears a jacket that's kind of Groot themed, and that those are like look up the pictures. Um, let's see.
And Bradley Cooper showed up for the first time in all the Guardians movies to do press and stuff. So it was kind of neat to
Yeah,
see him there.
I I was wondering about that because I don't think until we were really gearing up for the premiere, I don't think I had seen any pictures of the cast with Bradley Cooper.
Right.
So I wonder. I mean, he's a busy individual, I'm sure. So I don't know how I don't know how close, because you can kind of tell the everybody that's on set, because James Gunn's putting out a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
Like you can tell they're having a good time, but I think for Vin Diesel and Bradley Cooper, who are just voicing characters that don't have to be on set, like how their connection with the rest of the cast is, right?
Right.
Uh, or maybe they choose to stay removed because of the performance that they have to give, especially for that. I think Rocket was such a guarded character all throughout the film up until this last one that it would make sense that he, I mean, I don't know, to his performance to kind of be isolated from everyone, right?
Okay. Yeah, that does make sense.
But like I said, it could be just that Bradley Cooper don't time. He doesn't have time to mess around. He's busy doing stuff. Ben Diesel's over there making out, which real quick tangent. I don't know if I saw on the internet this week that Vin Diesel announced that Fast X is not part one of two; it's part one of three.
Yes. Yes.
Insane, in freaking sane. Fast
Oh,
X coming to theaters. I think next week, right?
yeah.
From
Yeah.
when we're doing this, so
I've got to figure out. I got to get to the theater to see it. That's one I can't just wait for TV either.
no. There's no way. There's no way
It's
because
going to be
then it's
too
gonna come
big.
out. Yeah,
I mean, just the stunts. I mean, Jason Momoa.
that's right. It deserves to be seen on a big screen for sure if you can make it. Um, let's just talk more about the characters.
All right.
I put them in order here where like kind of my favorite order, but if you have anything else different, we can definitely hop around. Like I talked, Karen Gillan as Nebula. I think she has the second best arc in the whole trilogy and all throughout these films.
Right.
Her characters evolve so much, and I just really love how much not only her relationship with Gamora is better, but just with everyone else and kind of um, how she took control of the whole narrative too.
Yeah. There's on Disney Plus. There's a show called Empower, and there's
Yeah.
an episode about Guardians talking about Nebula and Gamora and their relationship. And Gunn is talking about like one of and he starts getting choked up about it. Is the end scene of Gamora and Nebula in Volume 2 when she hugs Nebula for the first time.
Yeah.
And Nebula's just kind of not knowing what to do, and then slowly, just that one arm comes up to hug her, and he's just getting choked up about this, and he wrote it.
Yeah, I know, right? Like he kind of is guiding all this stuff. Um, I like how close she's been to Rocket because Rocket's been helping her, I guess, become a better
I
Nebula,
mean,
just like physically, like with all the enhancements that he's helping her out.
they're like brother and sister if you
Yeah.
think about it. They both suffered the same trauma,
Hmm.
and he's adapted to it in order to like upgrade himself. And so she's gotten upgrades that are amazing. Like that arm is like full nanotech.
Yeah, I bet Rocket saw Tony's technology and was like, "Oh, I can do this way better."
Yeah, when her arm becomes a gun, it looks like the Iron Man gun from Endgame.
Yeah, which is really cool. Like at the beginning, when Adam Warlock, which we'll get to in a minute, uh, pops in, she puts on these like wings, and then like like they have. I like that they have all this stuff kind of ready to go,
Yeah.
which I'd love to see more in the future for that.
Can,
Um,
can we talk about Kraglin for a second? Oh, wait a minute. I know you're doing your list.
no, sure, no. Let's talk about Kraglin because I don't think he's even on the list. So
Kraglin drives the Celestials' head through space.
that's
Is
pretty
that
cool.
not the coolest shit?
That's
Like
pretty
they
cool.
nowhere shows up when the ship's leaving, and you're just like I thought Rocket would be the first to drive a Celestial through space, but just drive. They were able to hook up nowhere, put motors on it, and drive it through space is a cool fucking concept.
Yeah, Kraglin to me almost feels like when Jerry became mayor of Pawnee, just like by being there.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that's kind
But
of
but he also has his moments. Like if you think about him too, he gets real sad. He goes, "Did I didn't mean to cause a not a rebellion. What is it when a mutiny? I didn't mean to
Yeah,
cause a mutiny."
yeah,
And he goes, "They killed all my friends." Like he's really broken that he's kind of created this problem,
hmm
but understands what Rooker means, what Yondu means to
yeah,
him. And
and then,
especially glorified in his scene at the end here, where he sees Rooker or he sees Yondu, and he explains how to use the arrow better.
which I think he knew all along. He needed to get there.
Yeah,
Um,
and it was nice because he had already had closure with Star Lord, and Kraglin always looked to him, I think, as like an older brother.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, he was his captain, so he always looked up to him. but I think there's a different connection between those two that has lasted the 3 films.
Yeah, and he finally mended fences with Cosmo.
Oh man,
It's
Cosmo was fantastic.
such a fun runner throughout the whole film. The story, like even the story when Cosmo's telling the story of like how she got to like sent off and all that, like that still it's it mirrors a little bit like Rocket's story, like a smaller level, I think, right? Because you just take this animal, and we know that they're not coming back as the people that are sending animals to space or whatever at the time, like they knew
They expect them
weren't
to die.
right. Which go read Primordial by Jeff Lemire. He
Oh my
follows up
God.
on some of those threads.
Yeah, he basically is writing a what if animals
Yeah.
Lived in space and evolved.
Yeah. So that was really fun, and then Cosmo gets to show off with all the telepathy, like the telekinesis and stuff.
Yeah, moving the
At the
around
end
and stuff, and
yeah. I also want to touch on, and this is the one that really got me, Dave Bautista's arc
yes,
throughout the whole thing.
he goes through loss in the beginning and rage into because like he defeats Ronan, and then he's basically after Thanos after that, and then in the second film, I think there's so much sadness that's absorbed by Mantis that helps him heal.
Yeah,
because he's trying to get to a better place, and then seeing him and Mantis in the holiday special was fantastic, but then seeing them not break up, but just that she's leaving the group, and his expression of how much you could tell he's going to miss her. Like, oh, it just breaks my heart. But he becomes a dad. That's the thing. Is it Nebula that tells him that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Cool, because she's the one that had been giving him crap about it earlier in a different scene. Well, I guess it's in the different scene when they get into the spaceship, right? Like,
yeah,
he just keeps messing up. But I think it's because he was not doing what he was meant to be doing. And then, when the kids show up and all that happens, and he finally becomes a dancer.
Oh, that may be one of the highlights of the film was just him seeing him give in and dance. Oh, that was so good. Just doing it for the kids. And so then this makes me think, because in the comics, Moondragon is his daughter.
Right.
What if he adopts Moondragon? Because in the end credit scene, we see Phyla-Vell as one of the new Guardians.
Yeah, I think I read online that they were talking about how they kind of combine those two characters, Phyla-Vell and Moondragon, into make it into one character, which would be fun. I mean, I don't know that we'll get another Guardians movie. I hope we. I mean, based on the end credit scenes, I don't think that we will see them for a long time.
I hope we do. I hope it's someone who has the same vision and love and energy that Gunn has for him.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a different story, and I think you have to almost just use the team you see at the end. I don't think you can't bring back Drax.
No, Drax and Nebula are
Gamora.
already doing their thing. Gamora is doing her thing.
And Mantis. I think you could bring Mantis back, but
I feel like
she wouldn't the team at the end.
Yeah, I feel like she wouldn't even go back. Like she would just go back to nowhere and hang out with Drax. Like their relationship was so. We can talk about Palm Clementif as Mantis now too. Their relationship, their banter is so dumb and goofy, but like I really liked it because it brought a lot of levity to the film that's already pretty heavy in some other aspects. When he tricks her into getting into the motorcycle, like, yeah, we'll just drive back to the ship, but it's right over there. Yeah, we'll just drive back. That was so good. But then we also see that Mantis is the only one that really understands Drax, because she's kind of connected with him on a different level.
She understands him emotionally.
Yeah, and she understands that all creatures have different ranges that she seeks to understand people, right? Because I think that's the same thing she does with I forget the name of the creatures that eat the batteries.
Yeah, I do too. The ones that
Uh,
she leaves with.
but like she kind of puts it together based on logic, even though we think of Mantis, like the team kind of sees her as a goofy dumb character, like, but she understands that, well, they eat batteries, why would they do anything to us, like, right? So
Yeah, they're not going to eat us.
yeah, so I'm glad
And
she made some
plus, I
friends.
love seeing her fight again. Like it
Mm,
was so neat that we never saw her fight in the other films until the holiday special.
mhm, mhm.
And because she's a badass in the comics, it just we didn't even need to know. She just starts kicking ass in the special.
Yeah, I also think the scene where they're at the corporation place and they're trying to get through, and she makes the guard fall in love with Drax.
Oh, that was so
It
funny.
reminds me of the Thor and Loki their whole I'm hurt routine.
Oh yeah,
Like it's something they've done before multiple times. Like you could tell this wasn't the first time that Mantis has made someone, think they're in love with Drax so that they can get away with something.
yeah. I love
Uh,
her. I love her and Drax, and I hate that she left. But I
yeah.
understand that was better for her character.
I hope she left with a pack of sag nuts at least, because she keeps
Zarg
not
nuts.
kidding. Yeah. Zorg nuts, yeah.
Yeah. I, I don't know. Like, to me, what still plays out in my head is, well, what does happen? What does Mantis do? What is her quest to find out who she is and everything? And then, because she's never been on her own. And if she's just traveling with these creatures, like, where does she go? What's her, I'm kind of curious what that journey would be. But then you also look at Nebula and Drax, who are now like going to basically kind of be taking care of these refugee kids. Nebula, who's going to be like probably more like a big sister that she never had
Yeah.
to these kids, and Drax is going to be a father to kids that he had lost.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
And it would be interesting to see that dynamic of Nebula and Drax trying to work together, who are two warriors who are at the best at what they do, and having to calm down and teach kids, basic things, reading, writing, and playing. But then also in their mind, they go, space is a dark place. We need to teach them how to defend themselves,
right. Yeah, I
and
think
how far is too far. Uh, but like, look at Nebula. Like, I think there would be an interesting dynamic of them being parent types.
yeah. Yeah. Which they kind of are. Yeah, they really are to the whole group. Um
And imagine you had your own superhero team in the celestial head you live in. Like all those refugees are now on nowhere, and the Guardians, that's their headquarters. What a weird, wild place to grow up in.
yeah.
But it also seems like it would have a target on it by being the Guardians' headquarters.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean they've definitely amassed quite a few enemies throughout their shenanigans in space. But I guess also a lot of goodwill if people know that they were the ones that eventually defeated Thanos and his army.
Yeah.
I don't know how well that's known throughout the universe. Like I don't know if Captain Marvel's out there just spreading the story.
Well, it's interesting too, though. If you go through it, the Guardians save Xandar, but then Xandar's wiped out,
Yeah.
and so not many Xandarians are talking about what they did for him. And the second one, they just blow up Ego.
What is
There's
what does all this mean for Nova?
yeah, and then you have like Endgame. I mean, the only people that really know were the people that survived. I mean, I don't think anyone's talking about Guardians.
Well, I think other planets would also talk about like half of their people just kind of came back,
I guess
right?
the death of Ronan would be a story that would travel
Yeah.
faster than who did it.
Yeah. So I think there's pieces out there, and if you know the Guardians, they are definitely not shy about tooting their own horn. So I think that's something that they could probably spread the word as well, because they also probably want to get more work. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. It's unexplored, but it'd be interesting to see maybe like in a comic adaptation or something.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
basically, like in Endgame or in Infinity War, what were they doing? They were traveling to a distress signal and hoping that they were going to get paid for it or just take the guy's ship.
yep. Yeah. So Leonard Kim in the chat. If we get more Guardians, they could follow the new group and maybe do a check-in on Nebula or Andrax. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think Dave Bautista said that he's kind of done playing this character. I'm sure Karen Gillan also doesn't enjoy being covered in, makeup for
Yeah.
this amount of time. So I'm sure it's something they're looking forward to taking a break.
I do love the new Drax look that he's got the shirtless hoodie or the sleeveless hoodie.
Yeah,
Like that's got to be less makeup time in the chair.
yeah, I'm sure a lot of those things are for practical reasons. Like I think in the behind the scenes you can tell that Karen Gillan's only got she's got the head makeup and then something in one of her hands because she doesn't need the other one anymore. Um, and that's just really about it as far as the makeup goes. So I'm sure they definitely have prioritized how to make it less time consuming to get them all ready. So speaking of heavy makeup, let's talk about Gamora and Zoe Saldana because she had to do a performance as compared to the other people like that had a full character arc. Her character arc gets interrupted and she has to kind of pick up and play a new character.
Yeah.
It's like in the D&D campaign when your character dies and you have to like be someone else completely,
Yeah.
right? Um, but I think she did a fan. I really like this new version of Gamora. She's kind of a badass. Like,
Yeah, I do too. Like she doesn't want to be friends with them. She doesn't, like it's interesting because we could see in the movie like
Mhm.
her evolution and to even the end of the first Guardians where she's willing to follow Quill on an
yeah,
adventure. Like where before it's like she's her own person, she stands on her own, she kicks ass, she'll kick her sister's ass, she doesn't give a shit. And so there's like it
hmm
that was how important meeting the Guardians was to her to change her life.
I,
But I mean, she was always going to leave. I mean, she was always going to leave Thanos because she knew where the stone was.
yeah. I do love that she does keep in touch with Nebula, even though this isn't her version of Nebula.
Well,
I
Nebula, I mean, that was the thing that really broke her in Endgame when she said, she goes, "So what happens to us?" And then she's like, "We fought and then we become sisters." And so I think hearing that was the one time that she never thought about family in, I guess I want to say 2014 Gamora.
yeah, yeah. I think there's a really cool scene where she tells Peter like that she's not there to be who he needs her to be, or something like that.
Exactly.
And I was like, I like that. I like that a lot because as much as I like them together, I think.
If you had put them back together, it wouldn't have been a good
Oh
movie.
no, I don't. I think that would have been. It would have been to a detriment of the film for sure.
And it's wild because it's like he kind of has a wish, like he loses Gamora and he wishes he had her back, but she's not the same Gamora. Like that's how important meeting certain people in your life at certain times are, and how impactful they can be.
Leonard Kim in the chat asking Ravager series when. I think they could do like a Ravagers special.
When Stallone's affordable,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think a special would be. I mean, he's doing Tulsa King for Paramount Plus. I don't think his rate is as high as you think it is.
because
Um,
Kyle's not here, I will rep the original Guardians of the Galaxy, and that would be another way we could see him is the Stallone version.
yeah. So
And
we didn't see Michelle Yeoh back on this one because she was a captain for another ship, so she wouldn't be
yeah,
on the lone ship anyways. But we do see Michael Rossman come back. We don't see Miley Cyrus come back to voice the little droid. It's actually
Tara
oh
Strong,
Sarah Strong, yeah.
who's the voice of
Batgirl, no,
no,
Wonder
no,
Woman.
the clock in
Oh yeah, Miss
Loki.
Minutes.
Yes.
Miss Minutes. Yep. I mean, she does a lot of voice acting too. But yeah,
Yeah, I think the Ravager series would be great to see. The hard part is there's so much makeup. Like all those characters seem to have like there's very few
Oh, yeah.
humans in the bunch.
I want to know more about the one that can do portals like Doctor Strange,
Oh yeah.
the magical one. But yeah, I think a special would be nice, like a little, like a not holiday special per se, but just like a one of those TV specials that Disney's been doing. I think it'd be cool, like
Yeah.
one of their adventures.
Well, I
Um,
mean, they leave the second holiday, or they leave the holiday special with the idea that Groot ruined Christmas. We're going to have to do another holiday special. I don't know who could pull it off because that one was so goddamn good.
yeah,
And even the music and all that is so good. Like I went and rewatched it after I got home from Guardians 3.
yeah, and unfortunately, we don't have the X-Men around because they're the perfect characters to do holiday stuff with, right? Like you could just have like somebody's missing home or something like that, or somebody can't go home for the holidays. Um,
Will we see more Adam Warlock?
I think so. I think so. So let's talk about Will Poulter because this character's. I didn't fully understand why Will Poulter had been cast in the role of Adam Warlock.
Yeah.
From what I know from the comics, other than like, oh yeah, he can look the part, which he does, right? Even from just the stills and all the promo we had seen prior to it.
Yeah.
But the change they made to Adam Warlock, I was like, okay, this is why you got Will Poulter
Yeah.
to be this character.
Yeah. Because he can play the childlike and
Yeah.
also the super strength superhero.
Yeah. So I call this a half baked Adam Warlock because he's not fully done, right?
Right.
He,
But again, it's fun. So
Yeah.
that's all that matters. Like to me, if you make a change, and that's what Gunn seems to do in a lot of these, and it's still fun, I'll ride with it because I just want to be entertained.
does it make sense for the story? That's the main thing you have to really, and I think it does for this one. Uh, I don't think I've seen any reception online where people are like, "Well, you ruined Adam Warlock," or but then again, I'm not looking for any of that stuff.
I don't know a diehard Adam Warlock fan.
Yeah, I'm sure they're out there, but they can always keep reading the comics because in the comics he really is like this like space Jesus type of character.
Yeah, he's like super powerful.
Yeah, so which he still can be, right? He's a growing boy.
Yeah. I mean, just from reading, so I went back and reread the volume of Guardians that this is from 2008, and it has Phyla in it. And it has Adam Warlock as one of the Guardians, and it's basically the Guardians before they're the Guardians. It's post Annihilation story.
Okay.
So they're kind of all together. They're all wearing uniforms, but they can't think of a name for themselves until Vance Astro shows up. And to me, there's another element of the Guardians that's really cool. Is Vance Astro is like, what if we're still if we're doing a Guardians Volume 4, and Captain America's shield shows up, but it's not Cap.
I know there's a shield lying around out of time.
Yeah, so yeah, Vince Astro. I think he's stuck in a time loop, and that's why he appears there.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you go back and read the Abnett and Lanning run, that's where I think Gunn got a lot of this. It's because they're all trying to survive on nowhere after Annihilus has gone through the galaxy and destroyed everything.
And I haven't. That's one thing I maybe I need to look more in interviews, but I haven't seen Gunn talk about like what runs or something like that. Whereas he's really mentioned the All-Star Superman for his for the tone of the legacy movie that he's written already. I don't know what like I think fans have been looking for similarities like you and Kyle like know the runs. So you're able to kind of pinpoint where he's pulling from. But
This
yeah,
monster book.
yeah. So Marvel just threw that at him.
Yeah, this is from 2008. I think there's 25 issues in the run.
I bet Gunn already had a bunch of Guardians in his collection.
It even has like some Rocket standalone stories and stuff that are collected in the back. But again, it's an omnibus, so
Yeah,
it was $100.
They gotta fill it up. So, all right. I think let's talk about Star-Lord because he's the one that is set to maybe return.
I'm going to be picky about Star-Lord because I feel like Star-Lord in Volume 2 is almost not Quill as much as Quill is in the third one. If that's I don't know why, but I feel like after Chris Pratt did the first one, going into the second one, his Quill seems a little bit bigger. And to me, like Quill is always like kind of broken. but maybe he's too broken in the third one. I don't know. I just feel like I loved his third performance as Quill.
I think in this film he finally realizes that he is broken, because this whole time he's been saying probably to himself like, I don't need the family that I left back on Earth. I have the Guardians.
Right.
But I think a lot of the group realized in this movie that they can't put that on their friends all the time. They have to kind of go deal with it, which they all kind of do right at the end of the film. They all kind of understand that they have to go deal with
their shit.
With their own shit too. So, which is great that they have people to rely on, but sometimes you also have to face the music and
yeah, because you have like Rocket really doesn't have anyone from his past. Like
right.
It's always just been Groot. So it's always like when you see that the loss that he goes through in the first film in Infinity War, it's so hard to watch.
I wonder where they'll bring back Star-Lord. I think it would make the most sense in whatever next Avengers film they have coming up.
Yeah.
I think it's too soon for him to come back with Secret Invasion, which it makes sense that Nick Fury realizes that he's on Earth, because I'm sure like if he's up in Sword, they probably know that he came back, but
and I'm assuming that all of Secret Invasion is kind of its own thing. I don't think it overlaps.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Because Secret Invasion takes place also during that Guardians run. There's an explosion on Nowhere, and the Guardians don't trust each other because they think that someone's a Skrull because they found 3 Skrull bodies in the explosion. Oh, yeah. And somebody's working with the Skrulls that they kind of reveal at the end of issue 6.
Yeah, Leonard Kemp says maybe something related to the Eternals. Maybe, but like I don't even think Marvel has any plans for the Eternals, unfortunately. Not as a group. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's weird because they're almost like gods. Can Skrulls imitate Eternals? I mean, obviously their look.
I don't think so because I think the Skrulls have been known to be able to replicate any organic being, but we discovered that the Eternals are machines.
Yeah.
Technically. So I don't think they could. So, but who knows?
That's interesting. That's
comics, so they could end up doing whatever they want. So.
Yeah, that's the one thing that they have to try to figure out is the Guardians are all against each other in the book when they find these Skrull bodies, and so they're all trying to figure out, how do I know who to trust?
All right, and let's real quick. I don't think there's a lot to talk about Vin Diesel as Groot, other than that moment we've already touched on. I think Groot is
magical. I mean, Groot has made people cry twice. I think in the first film, I think in Infinity War. If not, if you understood what Groot's saying, because Gunn has translated it, and he's calling Rocket Dad.
Yeah,
when he disappears.
Right, because this is for. I mean, I don't know that everyone's aware of this, but this is not the same Groot we met in the first film, right? This is technically an offspring.
Right.
That's kind of how their species operates. So that's why we see Groot grow back up.
I hate to bring this up because I'm not sure if I really believe in this, but the new Groot comic came out this week, and they're telling his origin.
Oh, I haven't read it. I think I have it, but I haven't read it.
And there are 2 other saplings that are just like Groot. So there's like a tiny Groot, and then 2 others that I'm not real. I don't know. I don't feel like we need to have this origin story. Like
I want to see that Groot fall into a vat of acid, and then come out as
the Groot. Joker.
Yeah.
Oh shit. But like it shows these other saplings that are like Groot, and then at the end there's a character that looks like Yondu, but it's like a female Yondu that shows up. And it's also dealing. So apparently this goes back, and I thought Groot's story was he was really old, that he was like a god of a planet and tied into all plant life kind of thing. Mm-hmm. but now they have him working with a pre-Captain Marvel, and I'm talking about Marvel. So
Okay.
he's private Marvel in this story, working with Groot.
Okay. So
When
this
you read
could
it, we could get into it more, but it was real interesting to see that they're going to have three saplings that are just like Groot. When I thought he was supposed to be like the god of the planet.
Shelby in the chat. I hope female Yondu is played by Michael Rooker. I think he can pull it off.
Yeah.
I just watched him on Jumper this week. That man's got range.
Oh my God, I forgot he was in
That
Jumper.
was fun. It was fun to revisit that. Um, let's see. We have one more character to talk about, and that is, of course, the High Evolutionary, which we touched on a little bit. But geez,
Best bad guy.
I
Like
mean,
I love the bad guys that we kind of sympathize with. I mean, Killmonger obviously is like one of the biggest ones. You don't sympathize with this guy. You just full on hate him.
yeah. Look, I like nuance in my villains, but man, I also like if you're gonna not give him any nuance and just make him like true assholes, like make him a true asshole. And boy, this guy delivered. Like,
I mean, you. It's weird because seeing him in Peacemaker, where he's, uh, I guess his delivery is way different to where
mhm.
here he is just full on, like he's turning it up to
I
11.
think I think he's screaming like 80% of his lines.
Yeah.
No lie.
Oh, and fans of Superstore, did you notice Mateo is one of the servants to the
Yeah,
High
yeah,
Evolutionary?
I did. I noticed that for sure. Um, I think even in the scenes where like I really like the scene where he's sitting down with Rocket and they see the rocket go by, and it feels like, oh, maybe he's not such a, maybe he wasn't such a bad guy, right, or something. But then when he starts to explain something to Rocket and he just grabs him by the head, like
Yeah,
he is always seeing, like he for to him Rocket is just an experiment, even if it's
just
like
a
the best one.
it's a thing.
Yeah. And then the scene where he shows up kind of like drunk. I don't know what he was doing because I watched the movie twice, and the his assistants say like you're in the middle of like, I don't know if he was like in his sleep or whatever recovery cycle he has to go through or whatever it is, but he kind of left it in the middle, which is why he seems like he's drunk. I guess that's the equivalent. Like, man, he's scary because that's also the first time that Batch 19, like everyone else, sees him like that.
Yeah.
Right? For the most part, he's usually composed and like running experiments and stuff. But I think that's the moment where uh, Rocket realizes he has to do something to get everyone out of there.
Can DC do a We Three movie after what Guardians just did in this movie?
I that's all I could think of, especially because of the floor.
Oh yeah, the rabbit.
Yeah. Oh. Um. Let's talk
What
about
are we getting action figures of them? Because
oh, that'd be so sad.
oh, dude, but yeah, but they're the to have like a Lila with little hands.
Yeah. I wonder if that's why he Rocket keeps grabbing like appendages,
Yes, yes, I've
right?
seen a lot of discussion about this. That is how he deals with his trauma
Right.
is taking limbs. But it was also the way he took stuff and added it to himself
Hmm.
to improve himself and to escape. So
Yeah.
I think it has a couple of layers to it.
I also love the I'll call it Chekhov's boots. They show you that he's working on the boots at the beginning of the movie, right? He's like, "What
Yeah,
are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm testing these anti-gravity boots at an incline to see if they work."
that seems
Uh,
like such a comic panel.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then at the end of the film, that's the way he kind of is able to turn the tables against the High Evolutionary, who I like the comment too that it was because of Rocket that he realized he also had to work on himself and improve himself because he wasn't at the peak. That whole scene where Rocket um, tells him what's wrong with his humans or his experiments. Like, man, there's a lot. Like it's almost horror movie levels. Like at the end of the scene.
Oh man, like the high evolutionary's face is just horrific.
And
Like
that's
I think
yeah.
maybe in was it Hannibal?
That's what I was thinking too.
The
When he
Gary
took off,
Oldman character.
yeah, Gary Oldman.
But you. I mean, there's a part where Rocket is ripping his face apart, and we never get to see it because we assumed that he's the high evolutionary. He can just fix it himself. He's been able to manipulate and do so many things with DNA and genes. He should be able to fix himself, but he hasn't. He
Yeah.
just has that stretch face.
Yeah.
That stretch face is so creepy.
Shelby in the chat that Rocket also improves himself, improves Nebula because she's also been changed against her will. Yeah, I think that's a big part of the connection to their relationship. Um, so he's trying to help them both become better versions, as best versions of themselves as they can be, I guess.
Yeah.
So really interesting. And then Leonard Kim, high evolutionaries faces a punchable face, a face that makes you want to drop kick him into a different planet, for
Yes.
sure. Yeah, I mean, and that just goes back to Iwuji's performance, right? I think that all that stuff it's very not nuanced at all and on purpose. I think James Gunn wanted us to really focus on the character arc of our heroes and not spend any time in our mind trying to put together like, well, does he make any valid points like the other villains did or not?
Yeah. Do
So
you have a high evolutionary book to recommend that you've read that you enjoy him in? Because he is a very weird
he
celestial character.
he had some encounters with the Uncanny Avengers when there was a team of, but that's when Marvel was trying to retcon Wanda and Pietro.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
it's still Jerry Duggan writing that.
Yep, yeah.
So I'm gonna.
So
I would say pick it up
I
because
would say so too.
I
You get
like
to see a
his.
lot of his. There are like these cows that are like they used to be experiments of him, and then now they're trying to help other people. It's really weird, but it's interesting. But it's been a long time since I read it, so I don't know how well it holds up. But it is Gary Duggan, so it should be pretty good. And yeah, just the hell of performance. Let's talk about some cameos real quick before we get into some of the larger questions. So we do get another Nathan Fillion. This one we get a full face Nathan Fillion.
Now, some people didn't know he was in the first film, but he just voices a character
Correct.
in the kiln that Groot picks up with his fingers. So
Mhm.
that guy that says he's gonna slather him in Nabi and jelly,
Yeah.
Fillion.
What interesting designs for the guards too, and that whole Orgocorp thing was
Weird.
really weird. I will say the first time I watched the movie, that was one of the parts where I went to the restroom
Oh yeah.
where they arrive. So I didn't get to see the full scene of them going in. Like by the time I came back from the restroom, they were trying to pull Drax into the little room because he was
Oh
stuck.
yeah. Okay.
So I try to be quick.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it was just the cool space moment where they're
yeah,
all like,
that's why I went there because I think we had already seen it on the trailer. So I was like, okay, I won't miss much of that. Like I have already seen part of this in the trailers. Um, and we also get to see, like Clay mentioned earlier, Jennifer Holland is she's the security
security desk.
person. Um, Danielle, what's her name? She's Ratcatcher
Oh,
in
she's Ratcatcher. Yeah, I forgot her name. She's
Ura.
French. Yeah.
Ura. I think she's Portuguese. Danielle
Oh,
Melchior.
she's Portuguese. Okay.
Danielle Melchior. And she will be in Fast X as well. So, we'll get to see her again soon. She's Uda, who I love the bit of like Peter trying to prove that he still got it. Yeah, and he kind of proves that he does, but he's
Yeah.
also smarter. He's also shown us that he's smarter than when he was first trying to do that kind of stuff, right? Who else do we see? I saw that somebody else was from the. Oh, Pete Davidson's in the movie somewhere. He's
Yeah.
like one
He's
of the
like a
characters. Um,
background character.
yeah,
I
which
just saw one of the pictures that Gunn released.
uh, I I don't think it was a cameo, but I found interesting the carrot guy, the guy that looks like a carrot.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was an interesting design. What else? I think. Oh, and I don't know Tiffany Smith. You know Tiffany Smith. She does a
No.
lot of YouTube nerd stuff. She was in the holograms of like the what you would call like the ads that were playing on the TVs.
Oh yeah.
She was
Okay.
that person. So really interesting. I mean, I love that James Gunn works with a lot of these people, and hopefully he'll bring some of them over to his work on DC. I think a lot of them have talked about, yeah, I could work with him again.
I'm just super hyped for DC films now.
Yeah.
Like whatever decision he makes, even if he changes things, fanboys may be mad, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Like, go for the ride. Don't go to test everything against what you feel the book should do in the movie.
Well, and this is a great segue for the next point I want to talk about. Now we can talk about a little bit how this fits into the larger MCU. And I think one of my favorite aspects of this film experience is that I didn't spend the 2.5 hours wondering, how does this connect to everything else? Like, the movie was so good that, and it didn't really focus a lot on like expanding any lore or like setting up anything.
Yeah, it just puts out the idea that the Guardians still exist.
Right. Like, for that whole time, I was just in this movie enjoying it. I didn't care about like what next phase is setting up, like all that stuff, which was really fun. I want more movies like that. I think that was one of the faults of Ant-Man, that movie really is just a big setup for like this next phase. And
well, stuff. I think something is being set up, but we're not talking about it. Every film in this phase has put a child hero in place.
Mm-hmm.
Love, Phyla. I mean, we start going back, Cassie. So we have a young Avengers.
Yeah.
Are we going to have a situation where the adult heroes disappear and the children are the only heroes? Because I've seen DC do that before in their comics when they had.
I think Clarion. Was it Clarion? The boy? I saw it in an episode of Young Justice, so it might have been adapted from the comics. But
it was adapted, I believe, from a Stargirl story in a Teen Titans.
Shazam, maybe? Because
because he's limbo. He's in limbo because if he turns into Shazam, he disappears from the planet and goes to where the adults are. So he has to be able to help figure it out as Billy Batson.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious. Are we going to see a young Avengers that may include Phyla if something happens to the rest of the Guardians?
Right. So
and we're not even talking about Quasar. She doesn't even have the Quasar bands yet.
Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, that could probably be tied in with the Shang-Chi and whatever there. I'm surprised we haven't seen anything for a second Shang-Chi movie. As much as like it's weird.
I know. I'm real curious. Like, who are we going to see? Who's the villain? What's going to be the big bad?
So, yeah, we'll see. I guess we're going to have to leave some of that heavy lifting to the Marvels, which is the next installment.
Which I read a quote today saying that Secret Wars Secret Invasion has to take place before the Marvels because something happens in it for the Marvel movie.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Question in the chat from Leonard Kim: isn't Groot still a young adult too? I don't know. At the end, we see this like Alpha Groot type of character, very reminiscent of his first appearance. A little bit more stylized, but definitely like very reminiscent of like that old Groot, that big brute.
Big one at the end. Yeah, he's got like thicker wood. He's just broader. But I love when they go do Kaiju Groot and he just gets big.
Fun.
That was fucking really awesome. Fun. If there's not an action figure of that, then just
that was really fun. Yeah.
And I need a Bowie ship because I have all the Guardian ships, but I love the Bowie ship.
You already know Lego's putting something together if they haven't already.
It'll be a $300 set.
At least.
Which I should say, Patreon. Help me buy Legos.
Right. The Marvels does look fun, Shelby. I think Kamala, and you can see Clay's wearing his Captain Marvel hat. But yeah, I want the Ravager skull ship. Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. A lot of cool space stuff here in this Guardians of the Galaxy.
I know. I wish they would release more stuff like that isn't just a Lego, but like a giant. Like, I would love to have like a Nowhere.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that would be.
I guess cool. Lego it makes it
Hot Wheels makes the ships. They should
yeah.
make a set so that the ships can dock in there.
Lego makes it the easiest because you could just have a flat box where you assemble it yourself, right? Anything else, like it have to be like a one of those
Built and bulky.
big prestige statue like things. So,
Yeah.
um, all right. Now I have a question in our comments. I mean, in our document here, and I've talked about this with a few people already.
Yeah, I've seen this going around, and
So,
it's really hard to say.
and let us know in the chat and in the comments if you're watching this later. Is Guardians of the Galaxy, is this the best trilogy in Marvel in the MCU? I would exclude the Avengers films because those are group films, and I think that's different. But even if you include the Avengers, I think you could make a case for it. My my one thing is that I need to rewatch some of the films, but I would say Captain America trilogy is also very strong, especially because the Winter Soldier is like my all-time favorite MCU film.
And then you go into Civil War,
Yeah, yeah,
which
and
might
that
as well just be an Avenger film.
so that was kind of my caveat. Like, would it be as strong if it was just a Captain America movie and not the Civil War Avengers 3.5 or 2.5 that it was?
I don't know. Like I find it weird ranking them because I just love them all. Sometimes
That's
I'm
what
in a
they,
mood to see Winter Soldier. Sometimes I'm in a mood to watch, you know, Age of Ultron. But I'm always in the mood to watch the Guardians, Infinity War, Endgame. Those are
that's what the internet wants us to do, Clay. They need us to rank things so they can either fight against us or stand at our side. So,
well. I will say that the weakest trilogy is Iron Man, and that is
oh
because
yeah. Oh well. What about Thor? As good as Ragnarok is, I think Ragnarok and the first Iron Man are.
Ragnarok is better than any Iron Man movie.
You think Ragnarok's even better than the first Iron Man? Interesting.
That's hard to compare
It
because
is.
Iron Man 1 is running on nothing but RDJ.
Ooh.
RDJ makes that movie and has made the MCU.
Well, I
Like
think
you have a
the.
character, you have a dude that ascends the character he's playing.
I mean, I don't want to be a contrarian, but I think the dude brings a lot to that film.
The dude does bring a lot to that film. I mean, when he's yelling at Peter Billingsley about like Tony Stark built this in a cave, like those scenes are great. The tension between him and
Right.
Pepper when I mean, there are great moments in there, but Ragnarok's a great film from beginning to end because
Yeah.
it finally figures out what to do with Thor. Because the
So
first two,
here, I haven't added. This is my letterbox ranking of the MCU films.
oh
I have
shit,
not. I haven't added uh, the new Guardians because I wanted to wait till I watched it again. But I mean, you can see how high I rank Iron Man on these. Uh,
yeah. I mean, it's tough to argue, but it's because all the other movies are kind of that's the foundation.
yeah. If I had to, I think Guardians ends up somewhere in the second row.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, I think somewhere in the second row, maybe at the sixth spot. I really enjoyed it, and I
wow.
think so. We'll see. I haven't really published it. So let's see. We have some comments in the chat, and then I'll publish my my updated list
All
soon
right. Well,
too.
then now I kind of feel like maybe I need to rank mine and
I
see.
think so too. I think it's a fun exercise. So let's see. Uh, so we have Shelby saying yes because it's the movies have a consistent feeling and style. Everyone, even if people who started off as minor, yeah, even so that's I like that. I like that approach that it's definitely like a complete film and like it's the same idea going through all the films. Um, Leonard Kim's biggest issue with Iron Man is that the Ironmonger suit just looks bad all these years. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I kind of love how it looks, but that could just be me. I mean, 2008 was a big year for me when it came to movies. I mean, we also have The Dark Knight, which is my all-time favorite film. So I was living on the high of one of those two movies to the next one. or vice versa. I don't remember which one came first. Uh, yeah, Leonard Kim would side with Cap. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean,
And we're not even talking about Spider-Man yet.
so the Spider-Man films are pretty low on my list, other than the No Way Home. I mean, not super low, but I mean they're like 20 and
Why?
21.
Why? What are
Because
your
to
problems with it?
me, I like the movies. I don't know that the first two are really Spider-Man films.
Holy shit! Let's
They're
have
more
this
like,
discussion because I love all of them. I think
yeah.
Tom
No, I
Holland
like the
plays
movie.
the perfect Peter Parker in the attitude and tone that he carries through all of them, and including the Avenger films. Uh,
Yeah.
as far as like No Way Home, I didn't realize how much I love that film. Rewatching it and having the foundation of the other two Spider-Man in that movie.
Yeah, and Spider-Man films, I have them ranked at a 3.5. So these are all very close to each other. Like the lowest one is Thor: The Dark World at 2.5 stars,
Yeah,
and
that's
Iron
that's a
Man 2 at two
tough
and a half
watch.
stars. But
Yeah,
I mean, The Incredible Hulk, I have it at 3 stars. It's really low, like it's the third lowest. But I think I still really enjoy that film. I think
I
it's
really enjoy that one too. I mean,
yeah,
Tim Roth is to me. I mean, God, I fucking hate that we lose out on Ed Norton.
yeah,
My dream is for them to adapt the Donny Cates current Hulk story, where it has multiverse of Banner and Hulks, so that we can bring all the banners together
yeah. That'd be cool.
and realize that one of the banners is evil.
So Clay, I do think you should make a little ranking. It's a real interesting thought exercise. It'll also lead you to probably rewatching some of these films because you're like, like, is this really better than I think? Because that's what I did a lot of the
I
time.
I get to Thor: The Dark World and just
Well, I think some of the
check
low
out.
ones you can definitely. I didn't mean rewatch everything again. I mean you
But I
can.
mean, Christopher Eccleston's in it, and I kind of want to go. Why
Yeah,
am I? What am I missing from that? But I can tell you, they put his ass under some heavy makeup, so
yeah,
you don't see a great performance, and so you're depending on Thor to carry it, and it just
yeah,
doesn't work.
yeah. I also like the Incredible Hulk a lot. It's just it's from so long ago. They hadn't perfected the formula yet,
Yeah,
which is what led to the experiment going array and getting an Incredible Hulk.
that'd be funny though if they did do a multiverse of Hulks and they bring that very green cartoonish one from the first one back
Yeah.
and keep it
Oh,
the
yeah.
same. Look the same.
The Ang Lee one. Yeah.
I will tell you, I would love to see a showdown between Ruffalo and Norton as two banners that are fighting, and one believes like we have Smart Hulk, who I believe is part of the Marvel Illuminati at this point. I think
Yeah.
he's part of that group that is trying to keep things.
Ooh, what if what if Edward Norton's Hulk comes back as a Gray Hulk?
I like that.
Because he's been dealing with like all his. I think at the end of his film, his version of the Hulk was kind of set up on a weird path to like learn how to deal with the Hulk differently, and maybe in this other universe, Edward Norton dealt with the Hulk differently going forward. Maybe he didn't get the Avengers group together or something like that. I don't
Yeah,
know. It'd be interesting.
I know, and I almost want to get like another person to play Banner that hasn't been in an
Yeah,
MCU film, just
yeah.
to play an alternate universe version.
I also gotta agree here with Leonard Kim. If we get a third Doctor Strange movie, depending on if it's as good as the previous two, at least, it could end up being my favorite trilogy as well. I
I
really like those movies.
I do love the
Oh
second movie a lot, but it's like ranked so much
yeah.
above the first one because the first one's an origin film.
Matter of fact, I rewatched the first one a lot because it's on cable a lot. Like I'll leave it on
Yeah,
because it's so like the origins part of it. I don't know. I like it's a well told origin story.
yeah, it is. I do like seeing him humbled.
It has a lot of really cool visuals too. It's very entertaining, and I love the end. I love the resolution of it, like without any violence, without anything having to be like a big battle. Like Doctor Strange, he was out thinking.
And when it comes
Dormammu.
down to it, Doctor Strange is just is being smart.
Yeah, Dormammu, I'm here to bargain. love it.
Yes.
All right, Clay, hit us with here. Let me give you the spotlight. Can you hit us with some comic recommendations?
Okay. First of all, if you enjoyed the movies and the trilogy, you don't have to get the omnibus, but you can find the series broken down. It's by
Good luck getting the omnibus. Actually,
It's by Abnett and Lanning, and they do a great job of following up the Annihilation storyline, which I think should show up in the next MCU phase.
now who is this roster of the Guardians that we have on this one?
Okay, so you've got Star Lord, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, Adam Warlock, and Phyla-Vell.
Okay, so it's very similar to the first.
Oh, and Mantis, and Cosmo, and Groot. But Groot's been destroyed, and so he's just a potted plant in this one. But he's freakish looking. He's not super cute.
Okay.
And Mantis is more of the ship's psychologist. She's kind of like a Deanna Troi from Next Generation.
Oh yeah.
And so everyone's doing a talking head in this as like they're debriefing.
I like that. I like that. Tom King does that very well.
Yeah, so it works because they can tell their story, and sometimes it sets up stuff because you see Peter Quill has the shit beat out of him, and that's what I kind of love about Quill and like Hawkeye. They both show that they can physically get beat up. You see like Iron Man, it's like, oh, I got a broken nose and there's a cut, but like Thor's fine all the time. Everyone else is pretty much fine, but he's Quill's busted up, and then explains the story of how they got there. And Gamora in this is so different from the movie, and it's awesome. Like, she is a badass. When there's an explosion that takes place on nowhere, she runs into it because she knows she'll live barely to save people. And so there's a long time where she's just burned and has no hair and is just trying to recover from the explosion. And it also takes place during the Skrull invasion, so they're trying to figure out, is she a Skrull who's just trying to be a burn to Gamora, that Gamora really died in there? Like, there's just a lot of fun stuff just in that first arc, but you get more of the characters from the movie in this whole run.
Leonard came in the chat real quick. Thor's gotten his fair share of beatings. He's just Thor, so he can also dish it out.
Yeah,
I mean, he stopped he held the power open thing with Star, right? That was pretty cool.
No shit, that's probably the biggest beating he's taken, right?
I think so too. And he didn't even have his hammer.
Yeah. The next is the OG Guardians. I'm doing this one for Kyle. This is the original Guardians of the Galaxy that you see Gunn put together in a cutscene in the second movie.
Yeah.
And
this is the one where we see Michelle Yeoh and
yeah, because this is the one that has the original Yondu in it. The kind of big mohawk, weird, looking like he just is kind of wearing shoulder pads and something to cover his crotch.
It's definitely very of the time for sure. I remember reading. I think we read the first volume for something, maybe Comic Club or something like that.
Yeah. Martin X, who is Michael Rosenbaum. It's just got all those Charlie 27.
Yeah.
Starhawk, I forgot the other one. The Sylvester Stallone character. That's the origins of it. So if you want to go dig into that, they're good, fun stories. I thought they were okay. I don't know if I'd revisit them. I would love to read more of those characters. I might dig into those characters. But that one was all right. Kyle loves it, so I'll put that out there too. Rocket and Groot stories written by Scotty Young, not drawn by. But the art is very much in that cartoony style.
It's very stylized, yeah.
Yeah, and it is fun. It's just a blast of those two hanging out. I think he breaks out of jail in this one.
When isn't he breaking out of jail?
Yeah, you've got different, animal characters. Again, a good fun run. And then I got two. This is an incomplete run that I don't have all the books for, but the Bendis run of Guardians.
That's the one I was going to chime in.
Okay.
If you want to see Guardians more like you see him in the films, go check out the Bendis run because this came out after the first film, and I think they definitely Marvel realized that they should pivot to like um, what people are seeing in the films a little bit more the same similar roster. The
Yeah.
first volume has Iron Man in it because also he was very popular with the films. Those are cool because those are hardbacks, right?
Yeah, yeah. These are
Yeah, those are
hardback.
neat.
Actually, the fifth volume, it was so short that they added additional stuff in the back. So there's like, oh gosh, where does it end?
They also this run also has a really cool crossover with
Oh, it's an annual. Never mind.
it has a crossover with the X-Men.
Oh,
for the trial of Jean Grey.
Yeah.
Yeah, which Bendis was also writing at the time, so it has some neat stuff. I liked it. It's probably my favorite modern Guardians run because the other ones I really haven't stuck around for.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I love Annihilation because that also has a lot of the Guardians and how they kind of come together during that cosmic event. The only thing I didn't like in there is there's a Drax story that starts it. That's I think a miniseries that is just terrible. Like it's collected in the full. Like if you buy Annihilation, there
is that the one
large...
written by CM Punk?
No,
Oh,
it's a different one. The art's bad, the story's bad. It starts off just it what it is it's Drax lands on Earth with a couple of other people who've broken out of prison. But they're super bad and they're gonna want to kill all the townspeople, and he's trying to be a hero. And then he's for some reason working with this teenage kid. It's just really it just falls flat for me.
Okay. Yeah, well, so that's really all. Was that it? That's all.
Yeah, I'm trying. What was the event book called? Something of Kings.
Oh,
that had Vulcan, the Shi'ar.
War is it War of the Kings?
War of the Kings. That's another space one. That if you want some more, that has like kind of giant space opera type stories, and it deals with Vulcan from the X-Men. It was okay. It's fair, but it's got like a lot of information in there if you want to read about that.
Yeah. So also in the comics, Ego's not Peter's dad. Is Jason His name is Jason.
Jason Quill. Well, he's just like his grandfather's name is Jason Quill.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, if you want to see something a little bit different when it comes to their, because he's the king of Spartax.
Yeah, and he leaves the Guardians to go be royalty, which he doesn't fit in. It doesn't work, and him and his dad are almost at extreme odds of killing each other.
His dad's, I mean, compared to Ego, they're both kind of assholes. So I get that they got that part right.
Exactly.
So cool. Is there any? Well, okay. So let me tell you this. I went to watch the movie twice.
Yeah.
I cried 4 times during the movie, both times. Although at different points 3 of the same places and then 1 different point. I think the scene that made me tear up the most was Nebula telling Drax his purpose. That was pretty strong. And then Lila pushing Rocket she's like, it's not your time. Now. It's not your time. Right? I was
I love good.
So
and that was Linda Cardinelli.
Yeah. I hope we get some kind of Disney special with all of them, 4 of them.
Yeah,
like a little happy ending for them. Because man,
how do you do a happy ending with that?
I don't know. It's a what if, Clay. Give me a what if season 2 where they escaped.
Yes. Oh my God. Because man, when we watched those what ifs from season 1, they were all dark. And I do remember a lot of those being that way, but I would read a what if sometimes, and when it would end with a happy ending, I'd go, oh shit, we got the darker ending in the regular universe. So it would be nice to see some wins.
And
but they would totally affect it. Like, what if Rocket never became a Guardian?
Right, exactly. He wouldn't. I don't think he would become a Guardian. So I think that'd be interesting. But yeah, those were really tough. But it was also at the end too, like when the dog days are over starts playing, like that was like a cry of relief, I think.
When That's what I loved watching Florence and the Machine when the video that's recording her at the end of the movie. You can tell when Drax starts dancing because she starts to laugh while she's crying.
Yeah, yeah.
I did pull this video that I found online. If you want to do a reaction to it, it's not a trailer or anything,
Sure.
but it makes me tear up every time because it is a Rocket tribute that this guy did from just I think the first two movies, and it's just kind of his story. Um, I talk about this on occasion that I'm an Agent Orange survivor. That my dad was in Vietnam and exposed to Agent Orange, and that I grew up with a lot of health issues. I was operated on at like 2 years old and sick, and just had. And so, like when Rocket talks about like how maybe after you've been through 5 or 6 surgeries, like, and I have a surgery coming up next month, like it resonates with me because Rocket is a product of what other people have done to him. And
Yeah.
I feel that way because there's no real help from the U.S. government for the Agent Orange poisoning that happened. At least there's no help for me. But do you want to pull up that Rocket video?
Yeah, let's do that one at the end in case it takes us down.
Oh yeah,
because it's like 4 minutes long.
Oh, okay.
We'll watch it at the end. But in the meanwhile, we can watch this that I did find.
In the meanwhile,
because I hadn't seen it. Is that not? Is that how you speak English?
I thought you were going to say in the meantime for the Space Hog reference.
Oh no. I would never. I would never reference anything that I don't know.
That's the song from Guardians, though.
Oh, well, I don't know all the music.
Oh, okay. That was the one I knew the most. The one they had been using. Oh, here it is.
Because I hadn't seen this, so let's check it out. Right, I'm muting it just for one. Take down that thing. Oh, that's so nice. That's got to be really nice to like see your work.
Run!
That's what I think.
Yeah, that's when Drax starts dancing for sure. That was really nice. Sorry, I had to mute the audio like every once in a while, but I don't want to get
this from being dropped,
taken off stream. Yeah, I was afraid. So I did a little video of like the songs as they went through the.
I did. I love that. That was a great job.
Before we move on, we got to talk about Guardians, the hallway scene that they got. That nonstop sequence where they kind of start just whooping. Oh my god!
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, how Groot had the guns hidden. And
everyone gets their. So I'm talking about when they go in the ship and they just kind of take everybody out in the like.
Okay. I'm talking about the.
Yeah, no, you're talking about the ship with the High Evolutionary, which was also pretty cool. But
see,
this
I need
one
to
was
see
like,
it again.
Yeah, this one was like a no cuts. This when No Sleep Till Brooklyn starts playing, and then they go in.
Oh shit! Could you take over for a second?
Yeah, sure. Well, I don't know what Clay wants me to do while you guys are here. So let's find a video to look at online. How about that? Because I don't have anything to vamp about. I will say we have some fun stuff coming up in the next few for the week. I guess we got some fun comics to talk about. We also got news that Tom King will be writing Wonder Woman, and he's creating a new character where we will see Wonder Woman's daughter. So that should be pretty exciting. Here, let's take a look at this Bradley Cooper voicing Rocket video while Clay gets back, and then we'll get back into it. I don't want to stray too far away from Guardians just yet. Oh. Let's see here. Oh. There we go. Let's see. This man's doing work here.
Live for the simple things, like how much this is gonna hurt.
Bradley came in and added to that character and created another aspect of that character.
And anything he was doing, it was videotaped as well, and it was used consistently for reference, whether it's the facial gestures, sometimes the hands.
You just want to laugh at me like everyone else. Rocket, you're drunk, all right? No one's laughing at you.
The way it works is we kind of get in the groove and you sort of feel out what Rocket is like, and then it just starts to happen and you kind of zone into this Rocket world.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't see that before. That's from the first movie. That's been so long ago. Wow. All right. Well, in the meanwhile, while Clay gets back, let's look at some comics. I do have some comics for the week. Really good stuff. I've done a bunch of reviews for it, but I'll show you some covers and really cool stuff that I got. So first up, one of my favorite things I read this week, Joker Incorporated. Batman Incorporated #8, Joker Incorporated. This is the beginning of a new storyline. Ed Brisson, John Timms, they've been doing some really fun stuff. If you want to see some kind of Joker-like characters, this is a really fun book. Next, we have The White Knight Presents Generation Joker. This continues the world of Batman the White Knight. Here's the other cover I picked up. Really, really well done as well. Really fun. Next up, we have the new Green Lantern book. This is also a lot of fun. I can't wait to get more of this. Let me give you a quick this one's written by Jeremy Adams, who has been doing a lot of the Flash. So if you like the Flash stuff, you want to check this out. With art by Germanico and Romulo Fajardo Jr. in colors. This brings Hal back to Earth. But after the events of Dark Crisis, there's kind of a new status quo. So really, really fun. We also have Spirit World #1. This is the Dustin Nguyen cover. And then here we also have the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month cover. This is Santi. This is our new character. They are working with Constantine to bring back Batgirl from Spirit World. Also, I really like that all the DC books just have a big thing for Flash in the back for the upcoming movie, which is coming out very soon. We'll be talking about it for sure. Superman Lost #3. Another great book. Looks like Clay's getting ready to come back, so we'll get back to comics in a little bit. Some other stuff that I picked up. But yeah, some really fun stuff this week. There's a few things I haven't picked up from the shop yet, but I'll definitely get to it as soon as possible. And let's see, Clay's coming back, so let's see what he's got.
Yes.
Hey, Clay. I was
Hey.
just showing the kids some comics while you were gone.
Comics.
Yeah. Is there any last thoughts on Guardians? I think we pretty much, we're at an hour and 40 minutes. I think we got our thoughts out there pretty well.
I love it. I love it because Gunn took a bunch of characters nobody really knew
Yeah.
and made soundtracks that now people know, and
Yeah, that's a cool
made it
part
fun.
too.
Yeah. And
Did-
even through the bad stuff, like when Marvel fired him and he went to DC and made, yeah, I know, it's so weird that like he got fired for Twitter comments, then he got pulled back. Then
This film was supposed to be out like a year ago, I think, originally, like in the original plan, if I don't remember correctly.
But the Suicide Squad rolled into Peacemaker, into head of DC Films creative. I mean, fuck. Couldn't happen to a more creative guy. I mean, I've loved the Guardians. The look is different than every other movie. Nowhere, and this just like he's added color, so much color into space that we usually don't see in space movies.
Mhm.
I'm curious to see how he's going to design Metropolis, Gotham, Central City, Boston. Are we going to see Apocalypse? Are we going to see Krypton? You know, just there's so many things that, and so many talented people he's worked with at Marvel that he could bring over there. It'd be fantastic.
I also think that it's good that we have this tandem of Peter Safran and James Gunn running everything, because you have the business person, right? And then you also have the creative guy, where uh, Marvel's been, I guess, lucky enough to have that in Kevin Feige. I think he's kind of proven
Kind of balance.
that he has a good. But hey, if you need two people to do the same thing as one person, whatever, as long as it gets done. So that'll be fun to see. So let's segue. We don't have time to talk about everything on our list, but I do want to talk about. Let's keep on the James Gunn train a little bit because he produced this film, and it's been a point of contention a little bit in the show, kind of. You watched Brightburn recently.
Yes, it's free on Tubi, and I checked it out. I kind of dug it. It was just very. I mean, you can really explain the story, and then we'll go into full spoilers for it.
Yeah.
It is essentially what if Superman were evil, but as a kid.
Mhm.
So you have the parents. You have Danny Denman from The Office. Everyone
Yeah.
knows him as Roy, who is like the Paul Kent type, and then you have
Elizabeth Banks.
Elizabeth Banks is the mom, and you can tell the mother has a much closer connection to the son than the father does, but it just assumes that you know everything about Superman. Like, it just goes into the fact that there's a spaceship that's in the barn, and it's drawing the sun closer. And but the bottom line is the only thing that makes him evil is really that his parents lied to him. Like, he starts to figure out that, oh, well, maybe I'm an alien, and I'm, and like his mom explains, like, we found you and there's an alien spaceship. And he's like, you lied to me. Like, and they're telling him the truth, but it's just because he's a kid and hormonal. He just goes crazy and starts killing everyone.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the only thing that keeps it in play. And I hate that that's just, but as a kid, I mean, we see kids today that are just violent as hell and that don't have superpowers.
Yeah. I remember when I went to watch the film, I thought it was an interesting idea for sure. And this is written by James Gunn's brothers, right?
Yeah.
And James Gunn only produced this, but this came out at a time where we're getting a lot of this like superhero like deconstruction, or like let's do a different take. I just felt the movie was too violent for its own sake. Like, I don't think that it added much to. There's some scenes where I just remember seeing like gratuitous violence for its own sake, which if the tone was different, like if this was like a Belko Experiment type of film, where I went in expecting that, like, okay, I can get on board with it, but I just think maybe I wasn't in the right hate space at the time for that, or it felt weird kind of going from this like Superman story to like this extreme other end. So
yeah, I mean, the things I did like, Elizabeth Banks is great.
I agree.
I mean, playing the mom, the parent who didn't have a child that wanted to have a child real bad and still calls the kid a blessing and a miracle up to the very end, and it really comes down to such a weird point of, could you kill a kid?
Well,
because that's what the dad does. He's like, I'm going to take him hunting, and I'm going to go take him out in the woods, and I'm going to show him that I love him. And then as his head's turned, he pulls that gun up and shoots him, and the kid realizes, oh, I'm bulletproof. It's over. Like, his dad's face, and you hear that scream for like 60 seconds.
So that's the interesting part of the way you kind of phrased it. Like, the movie poses that question in two different ways. Could you kill a kid? And then also, can you even kill him? Right?
Yeah.
Like, is it even possible to do it? So, yeah, I think there's some interesting ideas. I don't think the movie's bad.
I mean, it got to the point where the mom could, and that was the other wild thing, is the moment that you realize, oh, she can, if she could, because the parents' deaths are brutal. Like, just melting his dad's face, like it reminded me of The Boys.
Yeah, a little bit. It reminds me of that. I think from then we've seen it done like a lot better too, like with Invincible and stuff like that. Omni-Man, very I that scene where he takes out the Guardians of the Globe, I've seen it multiple times because it comes up on the internet a lot. Just yeah, it's really. I mean, there's fun ideas there. I think so. I don't know. I wouldn't have been opposed to like a sequel or like to keep exploring that world, because in this world there doesn't seem to be any other superheroes, at least maybe till the end credit scene, kind of maybe.
Right. You just see him destroying that town.
Yeah. So
And so it does make me kind of question, like, it since there are aliens and the aliens seem their mission to be to destroy Earth,
yeah,
you know, does he succeed?
yeah.
I don't know. I kind of want to see a sequel because I want to see what do we do against a superhero when we have a world of no superheroes, and he's just something that's pure destruction.
I wonder if James Gunn will play with that idea later on in DC, like because they have the ability to do Elseworld stories.
Yeah.
Like it could be something like not a project that he does himself overall, but just something that is explored. The idea,
Yeah.
I think the idea is interesting for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, the writers are his brothers, so they do have.
Can you imagine, like, if my brother was running DC and I was a writer, I'd be like, "Oh, here we go! I finally get to write a DC film."
Okay, you get the position to write a DC film, but it's not Superman, Batman, or a Justice League film. What is it?
Oh man, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting characters. I think I'm not a very creative. I mean, if I was a more creative writer, like I'm not a good writer, but I would say the New Gods. I think like that's something that I definitely want to see more explored.
Oh, yeah.
Even just like the New Gods itself, like in what's the place where they live? Not Apocalypse. But, no, the other gods. Yeah, like the story from there, like
place.
that the Forager. Is that it? The name of the character I'm thinking? Yeah. Anyways, maybe man, I need to do more research before I start writing my New Gods film.
Yeah.
But I like ground. I think it'd be cool to see like a grounded story in a different world. So like something that happens in the God of the New Worlds, like that planet they live on or whatever it's called.
I can't believe you didn't say Nightwing.
Huh?
I can't believe you didn't say Nightwing.
Oh no! I mean, I want to stay away from the Batman family. I think I'll let better people do that, so I can be be surprised.
I see. If I were you, I would have said I'd do a Nightwing story with a Tom Taylor script.
If I was gonna do a story about any Robin, it would be Tim Drake. That's my favorite.
Okay.
So, but what about you, Clay? Who do you wanna write? Who do you wanna?
Oh shit! I mean,
What's your story? You can't say Ambush Bug. That's Josh's.
That's Josh.
domain.
I mean, I'd want to do a Justice League, but like a Justice League without the Trinity.
Okay, I like that you were the one that set the rules, and you said no Justice League, and then you immediately went back on it.
Justice League.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I would pick probably Animal Man, and I mean the Grant Morrison.
Just grab Morrison's.
No, not his, because it was when it became Vertigo. Jamie Delano, I believe, was the writer on that, and it was the balance of being a superhero and a stepdad, which sounds really weird, but it also is. He has one kid that's really connecting with him and one that's not, and it's how he's losing the one that's not.
Gotcha.
It's very interesting. And his connection to the Red. But again, like I said, we saw that in that Titans episode last week, which was just a shit show.
Chef's kiss.
Huh?
I said chef's kiss.
I don't know. Let me look at my DC books now. God damn it.
Oh, maybe a Doom Patrol thing.
I thought about Doom Patrol, and in fact, the new Doom Patrol is pretty great.
It's fun, right?
Yeah, Rita has taken over as the leader. It's one of the personalities, or Jane. Jane is
Chief. One of the personalities is a chief.
Is the chief, yeah. And they kind of belittle the Justice League and put them in their place, because like Batman shows up in the first issue and they're like, "Hey, no, we're finishing this. This isn't your cycle that you put everyone through, where you go to Arkham, then you end up in."
They really want to help. They really want.
Yeah, it was like Arkham somewhere else, and then Suicide Squad. I go, that's all that happens to the people.
Arkham, Blackgate, Suicide Squad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's all that you do is take these people and turn them into weapons. You don't help anybody.
Oh, yeah. Batman's
That was really good.
Batman's not a fully trained.
And the villain of the first episode becomes a team member.
It's very cool. It's very cool.
Very Doom Patrol.
Yeah. I'm looking at which RoboCop did you watch? The original one or the new one?
I watched the series, the TV series, and it is way bad. I mean, it's bad for the 90s, but because it was the 90s, they had a lot of money from Canada, and Canada had talked to Peter Weller and said, "Hey, we're going to do a RoboCop series," and he was interested in coming back. So they kind of went ahead with pre-production. He didn't come back. They got another guy who looks a lot like him, but it's also at the point that they had told a couple of RoboCop movies, and they didn't know, is this like super violent like the first movie, or is this kid friendly like the third movie? So the tone of it kind of changes through the show, but it tries to become kid friendly.
Interesting.
The key thing to this is the music is. The end theme is written by Joe Walsh and Lita Ford. It's the most 90s music I've ever heard, and you need to look it up. It is just so bad, but they somehow put together some money for them to make this song that doesn't fit for a RoboCop show, but is so 90s to listen to.
Interesting. I didn't even know there was a show.
It's weird. Like in the 90s, they just had so much more money to do extra shit, and there was more channels. So they needed the programming.
They still have money, Clay. They just don't want to give it to the writers.
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to touch. We're running out of time, and I want to watch the video. So,
Okay.
But I did want to ask you about Love and Death, because I'm also watching that on HBO.
About the
Max.
murder in Wiley in 1980,
Yeah.
based on it's
Now don't spoil anything, because I don't know much about this case.
okay.
So
The one thing I will say is the book that Shelby had, she came in earlier, Evidence of Love, is written by John Bloom. John Bloom's alternate ego is Joe Bob Briggs, who does Shudder movies on Friday night at the drive-in.
You can see him in commercials now too, like promoting his the thing on Shudder.
Okay, good. Yeah, because those are the best, because we do them every Friday night, and this last Friday was fantastic. But yeah, so he was a criminal writer for the Dallas Times Herald, and wrote this book with another person, and so she's reading it for the details. The part of the show that I'm curious about is this is a portrayal of real people, told from someone's perspective who was not there, and that's what upsets me, is because they make the murderer seem like a really good person, and they make the person who is murdered seem like a total bitch. And I'm like, that seems unfair. You don't know either people. But then Shelby, as she's read the book, has found out things that are really, really weird about the two people.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, it's interesting that this is the third remake of this story. There was one that came out before 2000. Then there was one made on Hulu with Jessica Biel, who did the real hair. Like, her hair was curly in real life, and so she committed to the look. Elizabeth Olsen didn't commit to the look, but still she has a pretty decent Texas accent.
I think so. Yeah.
It's okay. And then her husband, what's his name? Jesse Plemons.
Oh yeah, Jesse Plemons. Oh, the
those two are the best in that show. They are fucking rock solid.
They're fantastic. That's a big reason. Now, what are you caught up on the episodes?
I'm caught up on the episodes. So now we know that the husband knows.
Yeah.
And it's weird because there's a scene with the husband and the best friend played by Kristen Ritter. And they're having a discussion, and it's weird that like they may think that their friend and his wife is a murderer.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a weird discussion to have with another person, where you go, I mean, do you think maybe that they are a murderer and they're like in another room and it's oh wow.
I remember when I did a video for the first episode just to talk about it, and I was like, man, that first episode is like super horny.
Oh yeah.
It's like things definitely get darker. And it's kind of bookended by some dark stuff, but that first episode. So yeah, I think the show's very well made. I think Elizabeth Olsen is really good at, like, it's nice to see her do something else outside of superheroes and waving her hands around. Um,
Like she
and
looked at her in this
yeah,
show and just went
and
and
also
then killed her.
it's that morbid curiosity of like, oh shit, I live in Texas. This happened very close by, right? Like,
Yeah, this Wiley is
weird.
not that far from here,
No,
and I lived in Rowlett, which is like right next to Wiley growing
yeah.
up.
So
So what was weird was I go, oh wait a minute, like the day of the murder, they went to go see Empire Strikes Back. I could have been it because they in the book they say that it was at North Park Theater, and I was like, I could have been there that day.
yeah. So I don't know.
What do
It's
you
really
what do you think of the show? Have you researched any of the?
no. I haven't looked into anything at all because I don't know how it ends. I knew there was some stuff going on, but I don't know like how the trial goes or anything like that. That's kind of what we're getting into the show now. So I think we can talk about it later on, once it's done.
I'm going to tell you one thing from the book that isn't in the show.
Okay.
Because it's really this is what really bothers me in the way that they're portraying the show is that is the book is very detailed about the violence and the axe swinging and the damage that it did to that
I
woman.
think they might explore that during the trial.
Okay, then I'll back off of what it is because when you hear
Yeah.
that, it's weird to see her portrayed such a oh well she's a good mom. Look how she takes
No, I mean, I
care of
think
kids and all this shit.
the show's very explicit when it comes to that scene of like how they found the body. So I think they're gonna get into it at the trial. Like, I can just from all the procedurals I've seen in the past, like I think that's when you're gonna get into it, because that's what's gonna. I think the show's been setting up this case as like, is this a good person that something bad happened once, or is this somebody that was a bad person? So I don't know. That's gonna be interesting to see. I don't know how long it's gonna be.
I think it's 7 episodes.
That makes sense because we're at 4, 5, 5. No, it came out 3. I think we're at 5. So yeah, probably 2 more. That would make sense to kind of wrap things up. And the
But
next couple.
I can't believe that the husband was just like you watch him go through the motions of like he's just kind of this nerdy dad who is married to this woman, but in Shelby read like in the book he's like a super smart scientist, like he was like
Yeah, and I can see that, like him being maybe not socially inept as much, right? So I also really like the lawyer.
he's really good. Yeah,
I feel like this person's like, oh, this is my moment to get a spotlight too. Like, I'm gonna show you how good of a lawyer I am.
yeah, because he knows how to be manipulative with the media, manipulative with the judge in everything that he does. But he's an injury attorney, which is the weirdest part. Is like she won't take a real criminal attorney
Right,
because
right.
she doesn't trust them. She trusts him.
Yeah, they do bring in somebody, but it's not like a big case. I also, oh man, as soon as I heard I knew who they had cast on the judge even before they showed him.
D-Day
Like, I
from
could just
Animal
tell.
House.
Yeah, I just knew it was gonna be that guy. I did not know that he was gonna be wearing the sunglasses indoors, but I was like, oh yeah, this is who you want as your judge. So
And then that was really weird to find out that like the judge denied bail because it was from Dallas County and not Collin County. Like what a weird little detail.
well, I think talking about the justice system and how broken it is, that's a whole
Oh yeah,
that's
it's
a
so
whole
fun.
different channel. But yeah. So I don't know. I like the show a lot. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's I have to pull myself out of the entertainment factor and go, a woman was murdered.
Yeah.
And then you think about like all the family that was at the funeral with her. Like that's just fucked up. Like she met the woman's mom.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, that was
the
just
other thing
so-
too is there was a scene where her daughter asked if her friend can come to play because their daughters are best friends,
Yeah.
and I'm like, fuck, like those two kids are like no matter what happens in the future, like
But
Yeah.
she's so selfish that when she's going through that therapy, she's angry at her. She's like, she's messed up my world. Like, bitch, you chose the affair. Like,
yeah,
this is
yeah,
like I look at when Jesse Plemons had that scene where he had to pull the family in and tell the whole family that he had cheated on their dead daughter,
Oh.
and that might be the woman who is the
Yeah.
killer.
I also really like the polygraph test scene with him.
Very good.
He's such a
Very
good. And then I don't know if you seen pictures of him like doing media for this. Like he put on a lot of weight for this show, and now he's like he just dropped a lot of weight again for that. Like that's not what he normally looks like.
Well, he's married to Mary Jane. He's got to keep up the good looks.
That's right. That's right. They're gonna have real redheaded babies because he's a redhead too. So, all right. Let's to close out the show. Do you have any recommendations?
I just recommend Guardians 3.
Guardians,
I mean,
alright.
Obviously, I'm just such a super fan of it that it's hard not to sit here and just go, I loved every minute of it. If there's story holes or problems, I didn't have a problem with it. I don't feel like the violence was graphic. And for people to freak out like that, Disney also makes movies where children grow up orphans. Bambi's mom is killed in the first 15 minutes. You have other films where shit like this happens. It's just, I don't know. It seems like a weird advertisement for the movie.
Hey, they dropped their first F-bomb too, so
Yes.
that's monumental. No, I agree. If you're looking for something, this is my recommendation. If you're looking for something that's not superhero related, there's a new movie out called Hypnotic. It is directed by Robert Rodriguez with Ben Affleck. And it is the weirdest nonsense movie. I've seen it a long time. It's got a real weird premise. I don't even want to go into it. I will have a review for it in the channel later on. But it's only 90 minutes, so it's like nice and short and concise, to the point, and it just has some really interesting concepts that I didn't see a trailer before watching this movie or anything. I just went in because I like Robert Rodriguez movies, and and also Ben Affleck. Like, so yeah, go check that out. And if you don't want to go to the theater, you can now watch the Air movie with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon about the Jordans. That's already on streaming.
Where's it streaming? Is it
I don't know. I think,
on demand?
yeah, maybe. I know Prime for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, if not, it's probably somewhere else too. So yeah, I'm sure you can find it. It's really good. It's a good dad film. Like a lot of Ford versus Ferrari vibes. So if you like that movie, you don't like Ford versus Ferrari?
Didn't see it.
Oh, Clay, such a good movie.
I know, again, but it's like these stories about people. I'd rather watch a documentary about what really
I see.
happened as opposed to discussions
the
that never
drama.
happened. Even though I'm like obviously watching this Love and Death, but
So-
I take myself out of it and say
Yeah.
this woman murdered another woman, and they're glorifying her, which is weird.
Have you seen August Rush?
No,
It's the Chris Hemsworth movie where he and Daniel Brühl, where they're like, I think they're Formula One drivers. It's
No.
directed by Ron Howard.
yeah, no interest.
Oh, dude, I love movies based on true events, especially the non-violent ones, because this is just about racing. Like, this is something that happened, right? Niki Lauda.
Yeah, but you always go afterwards and say, "Oh, this was left out. This was left out. This was left
See,
out."
that's the thing. I don't do a lot of research afterwards, so that helps.
But if it's supposed to be a true story,
Well, there's a lot. Yeah. That whole based on a true story. Sometimes it get used very loosely.
yeah, because the first time that Love and Death, I put up a disclaimer about this is based on real, a real case, but the scenes are dramatized
Dramatized for
entertainment,
yeah.
which is weird.
All right. Well, let's watch the Rocket Man. And then
Yeah, it's just a tribute video that I found this guy who makes great superhero tribute videos,
Cool.
and the one he does for Rocket like gets me every time. So
All
I'm
right.
curious because you said you cried 4 times during the movie. I got choked up and cried. I don't know how many times, but this video does it to me as well.
all right, so this is on Jaden Wong's channel. I'll put their link on the description as well. So we'll have 2 links, one for the opening, one for the closing. So let's check it out. Let me know if you can hear it, Clay, by the way.
Okay.
You know, they told me you people were conceited douchebags, but that isn't true at all. Oh, shit, I'm using my wrong eye again, aren't I? I'm sorry, that was meant to be behind your back.
Subject 89P13 calls itself Rocket, the result of illegal genetic and cybernetic experiments on a lower life form.
He stole Anulax batteries.
You know why I did it?
I did it because I wanted to. I've had a lot of folks try to kill me over the years. I ain't about to be brought down by a tree and a talking raccoon. Oh,
What's a raccoon?
what's a raccoon? It's what you are, stupid.
Ain't no thing like me except me.
Your associates are welcome. Even that triangle-faced monkey there.
You like a professional asshole or what?
Pretty much a pro. What is your goal here? To get everybody to hate you? Because it's working.
You just gotta laugh at me like everyone else.
Rocket, you're drunk, all right? No one's laughing at you.
He thinks I'm some stupid thing. He does.
You stupid raccoon.
Don't call me a raccoon.
Where's Peter? Rocket, where is he? Rocket. Rocket, look at me! Where is he?
I'm sorry. I can only afford to lose one friend today.
That was always me. And he stole batteries, didn't he?
Rocket! Where's Quill? Rocket! Where's Quill? What are you laughing at me for?
You can fool yourself and everyone else, but you can't fool me. I know who you are.
You don't know anything about me, loser.
I know everything about you. I know you play like you're the meanest and the hardest, but actually you're the most scared of all.
Shut up.
Get to the ship. I know you steal batteries you don't need.
Not without Quill.
You need to take care of the twin.
Something's happening.
No.
Not without you.
We're family. You leave no one behind. I ain't done nothing right my whole damn life, right? You need to give me this. And you push away anyone who's willing to put up with you, because just a little bit of love reminds you how big and empty that hole inside you actually is.
I said shut up.
I know them signs is what made you. Never gave a rat's ass about you. I know who you are, boy, because you're me.
I didn't ask to get made. I didn't ask to be torn apart, put back together over and over, and turned into some little monster.
Okay.
We're family. We leave no one behind.
That was real good. That was real
Yeah.
good.
I like that edit.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody that watched. Thanks everybody that was on the chat. Shelby, Leonard Kim, and whoever was. We love the lurkers. I can tell how many people are watching.
Yeah.
But I know not everybody's commenting, which is fine.
Yeah,
if,
I'm
you're
Team
watching this,
Lurker.
if you're watching this afterwards, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to leave a comment, like the video. All that stuff helps the channel. We're on our way to the 2,000 subscribers, which is insane. So stay tuned for all that. So thanks, Clay. Anything else? Uh-oh. Well,
you outed real quick. No, I guess. Oh wow, did you just drop all completely? I guess I'm. Let me take us out of here.
The most important thing in life will always be the people in this room. Right here. Right now. Salute, mi familia.
Salute.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Twitter loves you.
Oh yeah. Clay.
Hell, Bebo.
Josh? Simon Center, get the fuck out.